Alright, new day, new video. What are we going to do on this one? We got to straighten her out. Whoop whoop. Get her up in the air. I got to measure for a drive shaft because I've been putting that off. We got to screw around with the motor's actually not hooked to the transmission. None of the cooler lines are hooked up. None of the radiator lines are hooked up. Nothing. There's no wiring on this thing. We got a lot of miscellaneous junk to do. And I think we're going to start kind of knocking it off. I think it'll be a little kind of slow moving. But at the end of the day, maybe, you know, today or tomorrow, probably tomorrow, today's already kind of late, I'd like to make this thing kind of bark to life and just make a little bit of noise, even if it just runs out the carburetors and not actually off the fuel system, so be it. I'll feel like it's just, it's a nice little win. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around, subscribe to the channel, and next time you see this thing, it'll be moved around the garage and up in the air. Well, I wouldn't say I got a lot done. Car's in the air, that's always a pain. I fit some radiator hoses, but I didn't have any clamps, so that's where that's going to end for now. Secured the radiator in there, it's all bolted in. Do you guys think I should put a crossbar in there? Or the other thing I did, I tightened up all the header bolts, which is 2 different sizes, because that's what I had, which you guys all know is a nightmare. It was all 7/16 and 3/8, but that's all in. And then I was going to slide under the car to start measuring for a drive shaft, but I forgot my creeper outside. And it was freezing, so I hooked it up to the ready heat. You guys always ask me if I ever get my hair caught and stuff. Yikes. Yeah, so that one hurts. And then Danny texted me and said that it's fajita night for dinner, so I think I'm going for fajitas. I'll be back out in a little bit. Maybe. Man, I ate a bunch of fajitas, but I'm gonna drag my ass out here. So I measured up the drive shaft. I gotta go drop it off with my guy and get it shortened. Ryan, hell of a guy. If you're local in Winnipeg or willing to drive, he does cherry work. I'll put his number in the description there. And if you guys keep going there, it works out good for me because I keep getting better deals. Anyways, so I measured it up. We need this drive shaft to be 47 inches. I wrote it on the shaft so I wouldn't forget. Center to center of these little ears, or whatever you want to call them. So he'll get that all dialed together. And then this one has the kind of coarse spline slip yoke. So we gotta switch it over to this fine spline slip yoke. And then this thing will just fit right in and work mint. We won't have one issue. The other thing is this thing doesn't have a starter on it. So I went into the archives and I've got this one, whoops, which I know is a decent one. And this is actually the one I pulled off the truck, the square body. So it came with the 350, I put it on the big block, and it wasn't working and all that, so I ordered another one, a brand new one, because I didn't want to screw around. And when I got under there, it turns out I didn't exactly have everything tight on the old solenoid. Well, that doesn't really make it work all that good. So a good way to test it, battery pack or a set of cables, you just ground it out and then put power to the solenoid there, and this is your little trigger, and you can just kind of, whoa. So I mean, it was fine on the truck when I first got it, and then when I did the motor swap, it started having issues every now and again, and so I said, starter's junk, didn't even think about it. Ordered another one from Rock Auto. When it showed up, it was half uninstalled because the connections were loose. So I stored it outside a snowbank for last month out of my own stupidity, and now I think we'll toss it on this thing. So I got a couple of bolts, so I'll let that warm up a little bit because I'm soft and my fingers are cold. We'll jam that up in there. I might get in there and just weld up that few little spots and do a seam sealing on the floor. You've already seen that, so I might just kind of jam on that myself. Made a list of what I need. I gotta grab a coil. I gotta hook these plug wires up. I think I got a new set of spark plugs for it, or they're just on the intake manifold. I'll put those in. I gotta clean up in here. I thought it was a great idea to have a thumbnail where there'd be burning mail inside the scoop, but that made a hell of a mess. I'm a genius. I'll hook up the fuel line underneath, and I gotta wire up that fuel pump, which I'll probably just, well, I'll run a wire up front, and I'll probably just run this whole thing off a booster pack or a spare battery. And I don't know if I'm going to hook an alternator and all those things up. I don't know if I have one in stock. But to turn the water pump, I mean, really, it's not going to run for a super long time. Just get fire up, make a little bit of noise. Yeah, It's actually further along than I thought it was going to be for some reason, which is strange because I did all the work and I know where I was exactly at. It's funny how that works. But so I'm going to jam on those things a little bit and I'll bring you back maybe a little bit later. We'll see where we're at, and then hopefully I'm going to drop this drive shaft off tomorrow after work. He works pretty quick, so hopefully in a day or two I'll have that back. I see I have a transmission cooler. There's so many things. I do have a transmission cooler. These are all things you can never, you know, you got to keep them, right? Transmission cooler, miscellaneous air filters, intake manifolds, carburetor adapters. Oh, these are all slip yokes for Turbo 350s, and I think Muncies, all sorts of stuff. Turbo 400s are different. But you got to keep all these things, because when you buy these junky cars, they never have all that stuff. So if you're new at it, buy a complete car, because these things will kill you. Like a yoke's probably 40 or 50 bucks to buy them. That's why you got to keep them in stock. Alright, so I'm giving it pretty good. I actually got the fuel tank and all that hooked up. And I made just a couple of jumper leads. So when I put the starter in, I wired up the trigger wire. And this one right here is actually the fuel pump. It's kind of short, but I can trigger the fuel pump. And it worked. And as you can see by the side of the intake manifold, it's all wet. The rear float was sunk, so it geysered out. But I'm taking that as there's fuel in all the carburetors. So that's a win. I got my Muromatic Super Starter hooked up. And this is some rinky-dink stuff. I got the battery into the factory ground. I made just a battery cable. Another thing, tech tip for all you guys, when stripping a car down, always take the battery cables because they're expensive to buy. Just a miscellaneous starter I had, which I just have jumpered and running to the distributor. And the distributor is grounded to the water pump, which is, I guess, how I did it last time I had it started on an engine stand. So I know this motor runs. Well, it did run. It was on a stand, I had it going, so I assume the timing and all that should be pretty close, we're hoping for. So it's full of fuel, and there's oil in it. We got no water, and I'm not going to run the fuel pump, I'm just going to run it off whatever's in the bowls, but I think it should light off, so I'm going to do that. And if it goes, it's about 11 o'clock, I'm going to call it for the night. And then tomorrow we'll be back, and maybe we'll start wiring things a little more permanently. The torque converter is not hooked up to the ring gear. I did try and roll it over a little bit. The starter is not shimmed properly, so before you say that, I already know. I got to get a shim for it tomorrow. And then yeah, we could drop the drive shaft off and all that. This is a miscellaneous transmission. I don't actually know if it's any good, so I'm hoping tomorrow, screw around with that. I can maybe hook the shifter up and a few things along those lines, and then we can get the drive shaft back maybe in a couple of days if he works quick. And we'll have to see if it's all together, which would be sweet. And then so many odds and ends. I got to do throttle linkage and fluids and plumbing and blah, 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 all those things. But for now, we're going to light this candle, right? I'm confident enough it's going to run. I'm going to muff up. Okay, nothing's touching the exhaust-ish. All right. Coil on. Give her a little bit of. Yeah, we got fuel. Ready for it? Right on. You know what? I don't know what to say. That worked pretty good. I'm stoked. Maybe I can get some water in it, and I think I might have an alternator. I know I have a bracket. I might be able to slap a belt on it and just actually, like, won't have a charge, but turn the water pump. I hate running them. Well, I hate running with no water, and I really hate running them with no water pump and all at the same time. But that's freaking awesome. I'm stoked. All right, I'm leaving it there. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, so we are the next day. I just got home, did a little running around. I picked up this drive shaft. Look at, you know, I'm telling you. So Ryan at Domar, I'll put a link either. Maybe I'll do it in the description, or maybe the video we'll see anyways. This guy's awesome. Give him a call if you're local to Winnipeg or Manitoba. Man, he's good. So I got brand new U-joint in the back and the front, because it was a different style yoke. This yoke is off like a, I don't know, 80s-ish GM, so it had like that wax-filled junk. So it's a different style, so I had to get a conversion U-joint. Yeah, so there you go. So this, in theory, should just slip right in. Now, if it's wrong, I gave him all the measurements and what U-joint I wanted in the back, so it's my fault. I got hose clamps. I left them in the truck. So I can clamp that, top, bottom, fill it, I brought coolant today, so I can fill it with coolant. And then we can run the transmission cooler lines. Underneath, I still don't have the torque converter hooked up to the ring gear. I gotta do that. And I got another ignition switch. I might just kind of rig up real kind of temporary. Basically like what this is. And then just kind of do that just so it has a switch inside. So I think that's what I'm going to do today. We'll make it run kind of a little bit better and maybe idle and a few things like that. Once there's some coolant in it, I got to check, see if I have a alternator or not. I think I said that already. I know I have a bracket, but this tunnel rams are a pain, man, for bracketry. So we'll see. And yeah, maybe tune up a little bit because it's running pretty crappy there yesterday, but it did fire life, so that's good. And then I think we'll end it there. I want to leave it on a win with the thing kind of running on its own, and then tomorrow I'll start the next video, and that will be drive shaft in. I'll maybe put the carpet in properly, bolt down the seats, and I have a ratchet shifter, so I gotta put that in there. Now you guys are giving me a bunch of hate about not painting the jams. I get it. I'm just lazy. I mean, really, whatever. I can do it at any time if I really want to. I'm not overly concerned with it. I'm not trying to hide anything. As far as I'm concerned, it's almost better because I'm trying to sell it as a project. And yeah. And give me an attitude about using it as a shelf ready. I love that. I love the comments where people tell me I'm an idiot. So yeah, it's freaking cold in here, so I'm gonna crank on the old ready heat and we'll see what we can get going. Well, fast forward about 8 minutes, I dumped some coolant in this thing, and the core is leaking in 2 spots. Gotta say, the old timer that sold it to me, I asked him. He guaranteed it was good. Sent him a message. He blocked me. Don't be that guy. Well, I took a cool down lap. I put the drive shaft in and it fits perfect, which is nice. A nice little win. And I thought, I'll wire this thing up. So here is my rudimentary wiring that I'm gonna do. So I had this little 4-blade fuse thing. So I'm gonna run power through a fuse right off the battery. Wire go through the firewall into this ignition switch. So this ignition switch is very simple. It has power in, and then it has crank, accessories, and then run. So I can then run the starter directly to this. I can run, and then I'm going to run on the like the run position, a wire back to here, which will then power this up when the key is turned on. And then I can run the coil and anything I want off of this block and essentially have an actual key in it. And yeah, so this thing had a cylinder in it and all the wiring is still there, but there's no key in it and I don't want to screw around with it, drill it all out. So I'll just put one of those in, and then it'll actually have a key. And then I will have to screw around with some sort of throttle linkage, which it is all, well, most of it's there. I got to build some sort of bar or whatever it is because it's a dual quad tunnel ram setup. So yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do now. Have a little victory lap. I figure I'd show you guys where I'm at. So it's a little loosey-goosey right now, but this is the main power wire with a fuse in it, which that runs to the key. The key then runs back into this block, which I have. One's for the fuel pump, which says fuel pump. This one here is going to be for the coil, so it's just loose over here, and that's about where the coil's going to go. And I think that's the only 2 I have there. That makes sense. So I got 2 more spots if I want to run like an electric fan, or the next owner wants to run an electric fan. So I got that. I figured I'd show you this. This is a good thing right here. This is the throttle linkage that I peeled off this thing. So it's been cut, and I guess we can call that welded. And then the linkage is 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. And I actually have a factory one. It's not even mine, to be honest with you. But I'm thinking I'll maybe try and use this as a bit of a model to make it look, just to get this little arc correct. I don't know why they would have done that. It's like they wanted more throw on it. It's all bent back or something, or I don't know. Maybe it had a tunnel around before. On my 55, all I did was I did that. I took a little piece and I just welded a piece of ready rod on it, and that was it. It was pretty slick with a washer. So that's that. Underneath, I'll show you my little win with the drive shaft, because that made me happy because it fit. Still angry with the radiator if you haven't figured it out. But look at that. Just absolutely perfect. I did connect the torque converter to the ring gear. The starter still needs a shim, so it's a little ring, but whatever. It's not too bad. And in here, got the battery connected. Yeah. So I put the little ignition switch in. So it's got that ring. So it needs a shim, but she works. So all I gotta do now, I'm gonna screw around with this throttle linkage real quick. I'll weld something up. And what else do I do? I gotta loop the transmission lines. So I'm fighting out if I want to give up my last transmission cooler or not. And looping is just easy for now. So that's what we're gonna do. We'll see if we can fire this thing up and actually run it from inside the driver's seat with the pedal and a key and all them fancy options like a hot rod should have. Alright, we're putting the door up. I am confident she's going to start. Now the only problem is, I'm pretty sure it's in gear with the transmission. There's no linkage on the side, and it looks like that's kind of where it's going to be. This is a pretty rinky-dink linkage setup I made. I gotta do something different with that tomorrow, but it's about midnight and stores are closed, so it is what it is. Radiator, I gotta change that out. I do have another one. I'm less angry about it a few hours later. We'll check on my wiring. What else we got? I think that's about it. So, we'll see what happens. End it for this one, and then we'll be back doing all the little stupid stuff. This is the fun part. Remember, the starter's not shim. Don't judge me. Whoa. That was a cool backfire. Some sort of gears. Look at that. Wow. Really backfiring. Okay, enough of that. Huh. Well, it runs pretty poorly, but considering it's just been sitting, who knows about, might have a dead hole in it or whatever with the plugs and all that. I did run it at one point, and I bought it off a guy who I trust, so I know it's a good motor. Oh, there's actually just a couple of spark plug wires are sitting right in the header, so that might be the issue, or I could have burnt them. But there you go. It runs, and it looks like it drives because the wheel was spinning. So it's at least got one forward gear. That's all you really need. We gotta do all the brakes yet. Like, we gotta bleed them. They're all plumbed and stuff like that. Shifter in, all those sort of things. But really, I gotta make a list of what I need tomorrow. Get all sorts of little stuff dialed together. Because there's a lot of little odds and ends I gotta do. But then shifter in, bolt the seats down, bleed the brakes and whatnot, radiator out, transmission lines, I just looped them. Should be able to maybe move under its own power. I don't know. I think we're getting there. We're getting to the finish line where it's going to be for sale. It'll be great when it's all done on Christmas Day and no one has any money to buy it. That'll be great for me. But that's it. I'm leaving it here. Thank you very much for watching. As always, leave a comment. Yeah. See you guys tomorrow.